So here's how Alfred Hitchcock saved horror. Alfred Hitchcock, the Master of Suspense. Throughout this month, we have been celebrating his legacy because August is his birth month. So I have been able to have a lot of opportunities to watch a lot of new Alfred Hitchcock films. I even got to do a live stream talking about it with my good friend Nathan Hale at Nathan Hale Movies. You can go check out that live stream on his YouTube channel. I also did a video earlier on Hitchcock, and now I'm going to do my last video to close out Hitchcock Month. And this one is very special because I'm a huge horror buff. I love scary movies. I decided to watch all three of Hitchcock's horror movies. Are they really horror films? No, but they're thrillers, and they're probably his most thrilling movies. These are the movies that I watched. They are The Birds, Psycho, and Frenzy. But I specifically want to talk about how Hitchcock saved horror because of his use of tension and suspense in films. Now, throughout the years and throughout the decades of horror has always kind of evolved with one kind of trend after another. You used to have the classic Universal monster movies. Those were the horror movies back in the early days of cinema. You also had a lot of zombie films because of Romero, and the zombie movie trend became a huge thing. But it was Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, that brought us one of the most classic and most treasured genre of horror, and that is the slasher. Slasher movies are my favorite subgenre of horror, and I have loved a lot of the different slasher franchises, whether it's the big ones like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, or if it's the smaller ones like Sleepaway Camp, Prom Night, American Psycho. These movies have revolutionized the horror genre and really saved the horror genre in the 80s, because the 80s, it was all about the slasher craze. Now, I don't want to get into specifics. I don't want to start talking about Black Christmas or even Halloween 1978, which, by the way, is my favorite movie of all time. I want to talk about Psycho, because without 1960 and Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, the slasher movie genre, I don't feel like would have hit nearly as well as it has. Psycho is a very unique film because it's a slasher movie, but it doesn't have a lot of hack and slashing. It doesn't have a lot of cannon fodder. It's very timely, it's very well paced, and also it is very appropriate in the way that it uses the slasher format. You get this character like Norman Bates, who is a indistinguishable type of character to cinema because, number one, he had multiple personalities. Number two, there was so much that was unknown about this character, but you got this uneasiness about him. You got this shyness from him, where when you actually see Marion Crane die, everything kind of starts piecing together. And even though he talks a lot about his mother, at the end of the day, when that shock happens and it's actually Norman, it makes a lot of sense. And Alfred Hitchcock uses a very contained film, a very contained setting, to be able to bring to pass an incredible slasher film that started the slasher chain. Now, I don't think it gets any more iconic than that classic shower scene, but there are a lot of slashers that have taken inspiration from that shower scene and have scenes of their own that have become staples in their franchises. Whether or not we're talking about Michael killing Bob in the original Halloween and just admiring his kill, that shower scene has become a big staple in slashers because every slasher movie is looking for that big scene, that big moment. And it's because of the shower scene that we get those moments in films like Halloween 1978 where Michael kills Bob and he's staring and admiring his work. Alfred Hitchcock saved the horror genre because he was able to throw suspense into thrillers and make thrillers truly what they are, thrilling. A lot of horror movies miss that point. They don't hit the nail on the head with suspense. They feel too canny. They feel too much wash, rinse, and repeat. But Hitchcock was able to do something by giving you that tension, that build-up that at the end paid off towards some of the best and most exciting twists that we got in classic cinema. And slasher movies are no stranger to that. Sleepaway Camp has one of the best twists that you will ever see in a film, and I feel like it was very much inspired by Alfred Hitchcock, although that movie is a completely different animal on such a lower budget and It's pretty cheesy and has some really bad dialogue, but Hitchcock has influenced a lot of different horror films and also a lot of different thrillers throughout the years, and it's because of the fact that he's able to play into the suspense, into the buildup, to lead us into a path and direction that we might not have known prior to watching the film. Alfred Hitchcock was a hero to many in terms of what he was able to do with his films. He was a trailblazer for suspense and for thrills, and he really did save the horror genre, and I have everything to owe to him for some of the greatest horror movies that we've gotten over the past couple of decades, as well as some of the best slasher movies of all time, like Halloween 1978, directed by John Carpenter. Alfred Hitchcock, thank you so much for blessing us with your excellence, and it's been a great month to be able to talk about Hitchcock films. If you like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, or else the ghost of Alfred Hitchcock will haunt you tonight. Bye.